a calcium score of 0. Yikes. Good job, Sabrina. Good job, Sabrina. But I can't take credit for it. I only give the credit to God. I give God the glory for me having these test results. Most Gen Xers don't even know what their calcium score is, or they're not even considering having this particular test done. And in today's video, I want to share with you how I got my calcium score to 0 and why having this test done really matters. Let's get into it. So before we get into how I got my calcium score to 0, I want to give you a little background history. So what is a calcium score? And then I want to talk a little bit about my family history and why I believe for me and for everyone it's very important for you to have data. Data is what's going to help you, or biofeedback. These things are what's going to help you to be able to navigate, to change, shift, and make different changes and choices in your nutrition and your lifestyle. But more importantly, it helps you to understand that there is no one panacea that is going to work for everyone. Everybody, I truly believe, has their own destiny in terms of their health and what it's going to take for them to be healthy. What you're doing may help you, but it may not be the best choices for you. But when you get that biochemical data and you get the biofeedback that your body is giving you, you can now specialize and customize a specific lifestyle of nutrition that's going to better serve you. So what is a calcium score? A calcium score measures the calcified plaque that is within the artery wall. This is a broad overview, a very layperson's definition of what a calcium score or calcium test is. Basically what it is determining, like I said, the calcified plaque within the artery wall. But also what it's going to do is helping you to be able to determine what are your risk factors, or what is the predictor or your increased chance of having a cardiovascular event. So that's important information. It doesn't mean that if you have a 0 calcium score or a high calcium score that you're going to have. It doesn't prove that you will have a heart attack or a cardiovascular event, as I said. However, it is a predictor of your increased risk or lack thereof. If your numbers are higher, your increased risk of having a cardiovascular event. For that reason alone, it is data that you can use to better navigate your particular choices within your nutrition and health and lifestyle. Now, as I said, I want to share with you just briefly about my genetic history. Cardiovascular issues are something that's very prevalent within my bloodline. Cardiometabolic diseases is something that's very prevalent in my bloodline. And from a very young age, this is something that I always monitored in some way, still not truly being educated of the importance, but I just didn't want to end up like what I have seen in my particular bloodline. I didn't want to have those same results. So I knew very early on that I had to do something different. So it's not about genetics. So my genetics is not great by any stretch of the imagination. I've had advanced testing and things of that nature to really kind of dial in where I sit in terms of my genetic makeup. And so with that information alone, compiled with the wisdom of God, it has allowed me to get to the point of where I am today. So I feel confident in sharing with you my process of how I believe I achieved a calcium score of 0. It's not going to be what you traditionally you're going to think it is, but it is something that I want to encourage you to really just take a peek into my world a little bit and just see how you can implement some of these things within your life. So one thing I want to share with you also too is just a brief history about myself. I grew up eating the typical Western diet, and around the age, I don't know, I think it was somewhere between maybe 19, 20, somewhere around in that area. I had an episode where I passed out from eating pork. Not a big deal, but that's something I just kind of took off my eating plan, so, and not eating pork, and because I just had that extreme reaction from it. But when you grow up in certain areas, going without meat or removing meat from your diet is not something that's really encouraged. But years passed, and I've had digestive issues. I had those issues, and I truly believe that this was by the mercy of God. I believe God peered into my genetic history and really put me on a course that he knew that was going to save my life, because he knew what I was carrying. And so if you come from a family who really are very secretive about their health, they don't share much information, you really just have a basic overview because what you've heard, what grandma had, auntie so-and-so had, but you really don't know the facts. Even though you have been raised around these people, but you just don't really know the details. When you go to the doctor or you have a certain issue, you're kind of dealing with a blank canvas. It's just really nothing there, so you can actually pinpoint something back to say, okay, maybe I inherited this or maybe I inherited that. But about 20 years ago, and I say this is from the wisdom of God, I was having digestive issues terribly. It was to the point that the lower left quadrant of my stomach, I could cup because it would be so distended. I would be so bloated, and to be quite honest with you, I just was not eliminating like I needed to each and every day. And I remember specifically, there are 2 books that I read that started me on this journey. The first book was How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, and the second book was The Engine 2 Diet. The first book was written by a cardiologist, and the second book was written by his son. And I know for me that God put me on this journey. I have, since over a 20-year period, I have eaten a plant-based diet. I don't say that because I'm trying to encourage you to do so, but this is just me giving you my testimony and what I believed caused this to happen, because it's not because I'm brilliant or that I was so smart. I was smart in the sense that I chose to listen to that small, still voice that encouraged me to go down this road. Even though when I go to the doctor, still to this day, if you tell a doctor that you eat a plant-based diet, they laugh, they joke, they snicker. And even as advanced as having a plant-based diet, then the information around plant-based diets are at this particular time of where we are, most doctors just don't understand it. And for me, I struggled in the very beginning. I went back and forth because I didn't want to necessarily start something new that I really didn't understand, but I knew how much better I felt by eating a plant-based diet. Now, although I still had some complications that I still had to fine-tune to figure my way through the process, my point is that I believe that each and every one of us has an authoritative prescription by God that's specifically designed for us as individuals that will help you live a lifestyle that's more optimized. Now, do I think a plant-based diet is for everybody? No. But for the clients that I have worked with that definitely have cardiovascular issues, that has been the #1 process and plan. If done right, a whole food plant-based diet, if done right, has really reduced their risk in the cardiovascular area. That does not mean that at some point they can't transition back to eating meat and things of that nature. But by that time, they have been educated, they have learned, and they've learned how to optimize their health and nutrition in that particular realm if they want to go back to eating meat. I'm not telling you that you should eat a plant-based diet. I'm not going to even tell you that you will get the results that I have, but I'm telling you that this is how I accomplished what I was able to accomplish. It was only by the grace of God. It was not because I was so smart. It was not because there are plenty of people who eat plant-based diets and they're very unhealthy. So I believe that this is my prescription for me. And this is so important, the message that I want to get out. Not so much about the calcium score, but what I want each and every one of you to do is seek out the plan and the process that makes your body hum and operate at its best. And don't try to do what everybody else is doing. Don't try to do what everybody is doing. Be willing to invest in the advanced testing. Be willing to journal and write down and listen to the biofeedback that your body is giving you. When I passed out from eating pork, that was a sign. I could have continued to do that, and then it would have caused me hardship down the line. If you're having a reaction to a food or whatever dietary protocol that you're having, if you're having a reaction to it, be willing to investigate why. Just don't keep doing the same thing because it makes you feel better about the process. Okay, so what is the takeaway from this video? Today, my homework for you is to, number one, go get tested. I have shared in previous videos that you can go to, I'm using this lab because I know that they do it, Quest Labs or Quest Diagnostic. They have like a la carte menu where you can order lab tests and you can get that information, that data, so you'll know how to now change your lifestyle and your nutrition to try to reach the goals that you're trying to accomplish. Secondly, I think they have, when you purchase that package and you go have the labs drawn, in those results, I believe that they actually allow you to speak to a doctor, or a doctor reviews your test results if you do not have a already established relationship with a practitioner. The second thing about practitioners, be willing to change out practitioners if you need to get what you need. You cannot get to the place that you all become so emotional and married to these people. They're doing a job, and that's their goal, is to do a job and to do no harm. So many people that I find, they are so loyal to a doctor when that doctor is not going to give you the same thing. I just recently had someone tell me that their father had surgery, and that he believes, he's an older gentleman in his late 80s, and he had surgery, and he just believed that these doctors was going to be sitting by his bedside every step of the way. The surgery he did not heal as they thought he would, as quickly as they thought he would, and he had to go into a rehabilitation center. And he just thought his primary doctor, the doctor who actually performed the procedure, would come to see him in the rehab center. And it just doesn't work that way. These people are going to move on to their next case. They're going to move on to their next patient. And even if you die, most of them will not reach out to your family to give their condolences. So the loyalty that you all have to practitioners or therapeutic partners, that's not the goal. The goal is for you to work with someone that can help you get the results that you need. But it may take more than one person, and you may have to kiss a couple of frogs until you get to your prince, if you know what I mean. You may have to go through a few people to find the right one. And there's not one doctor that can oversee all of your care. And if you have that idea that you go to a primary care doctor or whoever it may be, and you want them to oversee the 11 organ systems of the human body, you are making a fatal mistake. Now, there are some doctors in certain specialties that can cross over and they can touch, but specialize in 11 organ system of the body and to do well by you, you're making a grave mistake, okay? So find a practitioner. Don't get married to the practitioner, but find someone that can help you get the results that you need in this specific area of your health. So if you're a Gen Xer or a baby boomer and you want to know how to lower your risk, reach out to me and let's book a longevity call. The link will be listed in the description below. Until next time, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video.